So, before Elizabeth goes up, let's hear a little bit about the heart behind the message.
Okay. Hi guys. I guess like the heart of the message really comes from like Isaiah 61:3. It's a longer story, but a friend of mine asked me and my husband to actually write a song. We kind of were like marinating on it, thinking about it, and actually a few weeks ago, I was just laying on my bed, and God brought to my remembrance that scripture, Isaiah 61. Just to give you a little background, it's basically where Jesus is like, "Here's my mission statement. Here's what I'm about," and he reads it in the temple to like the Pharisees in front of everybody. He's like, "This is what God's brought me here to bring liberty to the captives, yada yada yada," and he goes down. Well, if you keep reading Isaiah 61, he starts to talk about like, okay, this is what God sent me to do, but the end result of God sending me to do this is that people who were once like kind of broken down, like kind of like bogged down by like ashes and dust and really like no purpose or meaning and just kind of were like shells, because that was me before I met Christ. I was just a shell of who I was supposed to be, and so it goes on to just talk about how God's design was that those people would be oaks of righteousness, like planted in his house, planted kind of like in his garden. And so as I was thinking about that, God just reminded me of my own testimony of how he showed me that like my view of love, that was like the highest thing in my life. I put everything into that, and I was in a relationship, and when that relationship fell through, my highest understanding of love, everything I poured into it fell through. And it was the lowest point of my life, but it was the perfect time for God, who is the embodiment of what true love is, to speak to me. And the way that he spoke to me was through various peoples, and then through my life actually started to speak through specific people. So one of those people was my husband, and then he spoke to me directly, so just to show me the transformation that he's done in my life. So that's kind of how the song came about. It also really impacted me because recently we had a friend who went to India, and of course there's a lot going on in India, just like there's a lot going on here in North America. And he was just sharing with me about just a lot of the human trafficking that's going on over there, and how a lot of women are walking around like the living dead, is literally what he said, because many of them are in brothels, and their parents sell them, and they're poor, and to families, and they have no sense of what it means to be what they were created for, and already they're seen as objects, and so they kind of embody that. They have no hope. And so he was just sharing about how there's a ministry down there who actually like they train actually with the CIA, and I won't go into all of it just for just to be sensitive to that ministry, but they actually go and find women that are trapped in these kind of situations of child prostitution. They bring them out, they holistically work with them mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And part of their theme is this concept of an oak tree, and every woman has a leaf that's added onto the oak tree. And so I was actually talking with him just recently, and he's sharing about like kind of his testimony from India, and this is one of the things that he hit home about how the women were taken from kind of like their ashes were turned to mourning. I mean, their mourning was turned into joy, and it really mirrored the heart of what God spoke, what Jesus spoke in Isaiah 61 when he said it to in the temple. But it also is the heart behind this poem, how God can take our lives, turn it from ashes into actually something living and purposeful and meaningful, that not only can we be, but we can also use to love others and show them what it means to be in him. So yeah, that's kind of the meaning behind the song, and that's my heart behind it, and that's my hope that it'll be conveyed through this presentation of it tonight. But I thank God. So alright, love you guys.